host Joshua.
And I'm your host Ariel.
And we're the Midnight Guild. Welcome back, everybody, for another fun-filled episode of Holiday Horror and Mistletoe Mayhem. Yes, honey, yes. Ariel has done another one of her deep dives, as only Ariel does. Honey, you know, she has done deep dive into some shenanigans that happened up in the Ohio. The Ohio, honey. So, you know, nothing but corn cobs and, well...
Murder.
I guess wannabe hillbillies.
Sorry, I just thought it was being funny. I thought,
Murder. No. I don't have the bells today, so I can't do the jingles.
He wasn't feeling the bells today.
I wasn't feeling the bells, but of course I still wanted a hat, honey. It's been a long night, a long day. Thank you so much to all of our new followers. Everyone who has liked, subscribed, everyone who has just watched the videos. And honestly, honey, if you have just skimmed by it, we like you too. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. For our loyal guilders, we appreciate you so much. We're going to keep on guilding, honey, right to the new year, baby.
Yes, bitch.
Right to the new year. And remember, if TikTok is about to meet its imminent demise. Doom. Dum. In the new year, you didn't hear it from us, but some people are saying that you can do this whole VPN thing and still access TikTok, and hey, we'll still be there to play with you.
Yep.
So,
and if you can't get a VPN, you can always find us on YouTube and Spotify. And here soon, we're going to wear Facebook and Instagram down, honey, and we're going to get us a Facebook
They
and
are
Instagram.
Eventually are going to give us what we want.
That's right.
We are going to hold steadfast. I don't understand. Like steadfast, yes. Unwavering. I like that. Unwavering. So, Ariel, like I said, Ariel has done a little deep dive into some Christmas murders.
Yes.
Some holiday.
Like, honey, I had to take breaks in between this story because it took me so long.
Yeah.
And then also, I had to take breaks even through some of it just as, like, mental breaks because it's a lot.
It's apparently a lot. Now,
I had nightmares.
Oh.
I did. There was one night I had horrible nightmares all night.
Okay, so I didn't know about this. Pretty much the only thing I know about this story is that it takes place in Ohio. That's about it. Because I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, we were literally on the road and I'm trying to come up with some Christmas shit on the fly because, you know, now this is in November, mind you, because she's expecting me to have all of December stuff ready for submitting by the end of November. And I'm like,
we bring it together, we have a meeting.
I'm like, Ariel, honey, you know, I'm an artist. All right? You cannot rush this artistic creativity. All right, so I'm like literally going down the road Google searching, and I just sent her like the first 3 that pop up, and she has took one of these, and she has fucking ran with it, like ran with. I can't even tell you what it's about. Like literally, it was.
Oh, honey.
He needs to calm down.
I just hope he didn't hurt his little back.
He's fine.
Well, he hit his back.
She babies him so much. So anyhow, but apparently I did, listen, I apparently still did good because...
Oh, our trash can's gone, sorry.
We have... It's a trash can, not a trash can.
Is it there? No.
What are you talking about? Just throw it in the floor. Oh my God.
I know the housekeeper.
That bitch will clean it. Anywho. So apparently I did okay with my little Google search here.
Yes.
Because, like, she has... got a whole...
Wait with it, honey, and it's long.
Like...
Shut up. All right.
Alright.
So in all seriousness, this is a horrible story.
Yeah. So she has exclaimed a couple times how horrible.
Yeah, like it's rough. So I'm not trying to laugh a bunch. We're just happy because it's the holidays. And just trying to have, you know...
Don't get me wrong.
Let's be light. It's better to be lighthearted.
You can expect my inappropriate commentary.
Oh, yeah.
That you've grown to know.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. If you don't like that, then why are you watching this channel?
Exactly. So, you know, we decorated the nurse's station, me and Jeannie. Honey, fabulous. Honey,
it does. It looks really good.
Better Homes and Gardens, honey, the nursing home edition. Mm-hmm. Yes. So They started decorating okay, so this one little nurse that I work with, Donta, if you ever see this, honey, fresh. Okay, so I had mentioned that one of my favorite things to get in my Christmas stockings was those old Lifesaver books. You know, that had the Lifesavers.
I used to get those.
Honey, she bought me one. Tell me how, and I literally said, I was like, Donna, I was like, honey, I am transported back to Christmas 1992. So it was just so funny that you said 1992. I was like, oh my God, girl, let me tell you. I just had this conversation. All right, take me back. Oh, I should bring my little Lifesaver book home.
Does it have lifesavers in it?
It does.
I just lisped hard.
You did. It's all right.
I would like a lifesaver.
I swear to God. Alright, hold on. Pause. Can we... Little Lifesavers book, and it has a little story on the inside. And then you got all these little Lifesavers. Now, they're the hard candies, not the gummies.
Right.
And they're the original flavors, too. Honey, when I tell you I was transported back...
Oh, that's so sweet that she did that for you.
It was adorable because every year our stockings, honey, my parents were old school, even though, because, my parents were boomers, God love them. So, honey, even though the new age stuff was, toys and stuff, no, honey, no, I got nuts.
Me too. I got nuts,
fruit,
yes,
orange,
and then candy.
One of these,
Cracker Jacks?
Candy, yeah, of course, and like a little Hot Wheels car or something like that. But yes, this is.
I used to get Polly Pockets in mine.
The little Lifesavers book, and this was one of my favorite things when I was a child.
Honey, crack them open, honey.
Well, okay, so I already ate one whole pack last night.
That's
I'm not gonna lie. I won't lie about it.
Well, yeah, you got transported back. You had that gold.
I did to 1992. Simpler times. On a green one, I think it's watermelon.
Oh, it's so good it is.
Okay, I'm going to leave this with you.
Oh, your sweetie pie.
I consider that your personal little role there, honey.
Oh, you angel.
Yes. All right, so now we're going to get back on topic to the murderous mayhem. Oh, no, wait.
Mistletoe mayhem.
Mistletoe mayhem.
So it's Christmas Eve, 1992.
Oh, nostalgia.
Around 9:30 p.m.
Do you know where your children are?
Literally. 18-year-old Danita Gillette was leaving her work, Rally's, which is a burger joint, in Dayton, Ohio. Danita had walked to work this day. And so she's on her way. As she's leaving Rally, she's walking home. And about 10 minutes after walking there, there's a payphone. And she is like, okay, I'm going to call home real fast, let my mom know I'm on my way home. All of Danita's family is waiting for her to get home so they can celebrate Christmas Eve together, dinner together.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, she hears, she dials the number, is waiting for it to ring. She hears heavy footsteps come up behind her really fast.
Oh.
Turns around, drops the phone. At this same time, across town, at Danita's mother's house, the phone rings. Her younger sister, Rhonda, expects it to be Danita, and she goes running. She can't wait to hear from Danita to know that she's finally on her way home so that they can have Christmas Eve dinner together.
I'm already sad.
So her sister Rhonda answers the phone. Hello? Very excitedly. And then there's nothing. Then she says, hello? Still no answer. So she assumes that it must be a wrong number and hangs up. It is sad. Disappointed it isn't her sister Danita, she runs back into the living room and tells her family that it must have been the wrong number. A wrong number.
Yeah.
Danita's family would stay up for a little while and waiting for Danita, but since she never called, they assumed that she had just had to work over, which she had been known to do many a time before. And so they all go to bed, and they all say, it's fine, we'll just have Christmas morning to get, breakfast together all tomorrow morning. And then open presents with Danita as well.
Oh.
Just a few hours later, a knock will come at the Gillott family home's door. A knock will come at their door. And Danita's mother and father and family will get up and go to the door. And there will be a man named Detective Doyle Burke on the other side. that tells the Galot family that their daughter and sister and granddaughter have been shot and killed at the payphone that she was calling to call home.
Oh, that's horrible.
I know. I could see it in your eyes. I was like, oh, this one's going to hit him.
It might least.
Because this ain't even the worst part.
Okay, let's continue on.
So, around the same time that Danita would have been leaving work on the evening of Christmas Eve, Detective Doyle Burke is actually just finishing up Christmas Eve dinner with his family at his grandmother's house when his pager goes off, saying, "Call work immediately." Detective Burke steps away from the family and calls into work to find out what's going on, and that's when he's informed that there's been a shooting on Neal Avenue, and it's near a payphone, and that they need him to come into work. Detective Burke, basically says his goodbyes to his family and everything like that, and his wife understands. She's been used to this for quite some time now. When he gets a call, he's got to go. And so Doyle arrives on scene, and when he gets through the tape and everything, and then sees the actual crime scene, he sees a young woman with 5 bullet wounds laying next to a payphone in a puddle of her own frozen blood. This woman was Danita Gillette. Danita's wounds were defensive wounds, meaning she tried to shield herself from being shot by trying to block the bullets coming at her with her hands and arms. When the police got to Danita, they seen that her sneakers, coat, and backpack had all been stolen off of her. Her backpack had 50 cents in it. Scattered around Danita's body was 25 caliber aluminum shell casings, which really stood out to Detective Burke because that type of ammunition is used for target practice. You could still really hurt somebody at close range, but it's usually used for target practice from far away. So it's really not known as a lethal type of ammunition. Witnesses said that they had heard shots and then saw 2 men with pistols running away from the payphone. After he goes through the crime scene with the other policemen and detectives, after leaving the crime scene, Detective Burke travels to Danita's mother's home to tell Danita's family that she had been murdered. Her parents and family members were all obviously devastated, but they were also completely in shock.
I can imagine.
Danita had always been known as a happy-go-lucky, kind, sweet young woman. She'd give you the shirt off her back kind of lady. And the Galot family could not even fathom they couldn't even name one person that they knew that would have want to hurt their child. Or same with her brothers and sisters and other family members. They were like, we literally don't know anyone who would want to hurt her. Everybody loves her. So when Doyle tells the family that Danita had been killed right outside a payphone, it was right then that her sister Rhonda, along with the rest of her family members, realized that, and because when he told them the time of death as well, they automatically knew that they had picked up the phone right after Danita had been shot, basically, because they didn't hear anything. They didn't hear any gunshots.
That's so sad.
Yeah. After he leaves the Galot family home, he goes home and tries to enjoy Christmas morning with his children and wife and his own family. And he's seen a lot of crime and seen a lot of horrible things happen, but for some reason he just could not get the Gillette family out of his mind. Her parents were her whole family was just so broken and in such shock that it just really pulled at his heartstrings. And after seeing the crime scene and how you could just tell that this came up out of nowhere for Danita and that they were defensive wounds and she was just wrong place, wrong time, it just was really not sitting well with him, especially being around this time of year.
Yeah.
And so he was finding it really, really hard to enjoy watching his own children open presents and be with his own family.
I mean, that'd have to be rough.
Yeah, very much so. So he goes through the day and he gets along fine, but I mean they're always in the back of his mind.
Yeah.
So towards the end, it's now pretty late in the evening, and it's the clock strikes 9, and he actually gets another alert on his pager, and he calls in, and he gets told that there's been another shooting about 2.5 miles from where Danita had been shot and killed.
Oh.
Yeah.
We've got a spree.
So police find 19-year-old Richmond Maddox in a car that, okay, let me rephrase. When he gets to the scene, 19-year-old Richmond Maddox is found slumped over in a blue Chevy Caprice that had crashed into a tree right off the side of the road. But the car crash didn't kill Richmond. A gunshot wound to the head at close range did. So, after checking the exterior of the vehicle for an entry point, it was determined that the gun had been shot from inside the car. So, somebody who was in the vehicle with him while Richmond is driving shoots him in the back of the head at point blank. So, what automatically Detective Burke assumes is, okay, was this a kidnapped victim that got a hold of, like, the kidnapper's gun type situation and had no choice? Because if you're in a moving vehicle, and why would you shoot the driver? Right. Unless you were being forced to do so because you need to get free, or you're being forced by someone else to do so. Right? Because why would you put your own health at risk? So, he's got these things running through his mind. But at the same time, in the back of his mind, he does find it really odd that within a less than 24-hour time frame, there's been 2 shootings. Some things are more than coincidences, Burke thinks to himself. And he was like, I just have a gut feeling this is one of them within the time frame. So when he realizes that most likely, this was probably a hostage type situation or something along those lines, like they were being forced to do so, whoever shot Richmond, he's like, okay, let me see if anybody saw anything. Witnesses told him that they heard a crash, and then they saw a young female jump from the car while it was still moving, and then she ran off down the road with like a limp. So that's when Burke was like, okay, I'm thinking that somehow maybe this shit might be linked within the time frame of 24 hours. And it just, something seems fishy. But I could be wrong, and it could be a kidnapping situation or something along those lines. I don't know yet, but I just feel like they're connected.
He's going to find out.
When talking to Richmond's family, he got the same reaction basically from his parents as he did with the Gillettes. They were devastated, shocked. They couldn't think of anybody that would want to hurt Richmond. And when they asked about if their son would have been with any particular girl, and they were like, the only girl that we would know Richmond to ever hang out with would have been his ex, Laura Taylor. He goes to the home of Laura Taylor. Okay, Laura Taylor is 16 years old. He goes, knocks on the door, and her parents answer the door. And he asks for Laura. Actually, Laura has been missing for 3 days. And they're getting really, really concerned. And I'm like, why would you not call the police? But I guess times were different. Maybe she'd done this before. She had a habit of running it off or something like that.
They literally had a commercial on TV that said, do you know where your children are? Literally. Okay, moving on. Laura, she's missing. Her parents are not worried.
Well, they were starting to get worried. But
after
I don't know.
3 days.
After 3 days, literally.
Honey, they were not Southern.
Amen.
Honey, 24 hours, honey, our mamas would then be, honey,
beating down people's doors.
Dragging the lake bottoms.
Yeah. Okay. So now that just messes everything up in his mind. He's like, okay, could that have been her that jumped from the car? What's going on? Was she forced to shoot Richmond? Like, was he a controlling guy? Like, what's the issue here? He's trying to put all this together. So now does he not have 2 murders on his hands? He also has a missing girl. A missing minor. Because she's 16.
2 murders and a missing minor.
Yeah.
It writes itself.
So Burke is pretty overwhelmed. Rightfully so. And so while standing in the Taylor's home, trying to put like pieces of the puzzle together, Detective Burke's pager goes off again. There had been another shooting.
A 3rd time.
Yes.
The 3rd time. On the 3rd ring.
The 3rd shooting had taken place in a mini-mart, like convenience store, just 3 miles away from where Richmond's body had been found. The mini mart shooting had 2 victims, both alive but in critical condition when he got the beat with the page. So on the morning of December 26th, 38-year-old Sarah Abraham had just opened up her family's mini mart convenience store. Okay. Yeah. When 71-year-old Jimmy Thompson walked in, a regular at the store. He was happy to see Sarah. He actually went up and started chatting with her at the counter, asking her how her holidays had been and stuff like that. When not too long after that, middle-aged man Jones Padesh came in the door as well. He was also known to frequent the store, and he just starts going down the aisles looking for whatever he was there to get. So Jimmy and Sarah are at the register chatting when... I said chatting, so weird. Chatting. They're chatting up at the register, just making small talk, when a young girl walks in. And she goes through the halls,
Laura.
the aisles. And she goes and gets a pack of gum and comes up to the store, comes up to the register, and she goes to pay, but she's actually 5 cents short. Jimmy just smiles at her and gives her a nickel out of his pocket. And she smiles back and, just skips on out. About just maybe 5 minutes later, 2 masked men come into the convenience store and hold Jimmy and Sarah at gunpoint.
Oh no.
Yeah. The 2 men entered the store with pistols. Sarah and Jimmy both immediately put their hands up, and the man began screaming at Sarah, telling her to let them have all the money in the register. She told them straight up, she was like, "You can have anything in this store. You can have everything that's in this register. Take whatever you want. Just please don't shoot us." Sarah complied with every single one of their demands, and one of the men just listened to her plead, and then he literally just took the gun and pointed it at her head and shot her in the face 2 times.
Oh my God.
Once in the mouth, and the other went through the top of her head. Sarah collapses to the ground, and the men automatically turn their attention to Jimmy.
Poor Jimmy.
Who they shot at multiple times, but with Jimmy's quick thinking, he slung himself over the counter, and by the grace of God, they missed him. But they think they've shot him because of the way he threw himself over the counter. The men turn and go to leave the convenience store and see Jones Padesh out of the corner of their eye. One of them does. And he literally posed no threat to them whatsoever. Like, he was bent down, like hiding. This man obviously is not armed. No threat to you at all. And they both just start unloading on him. They shoot him twice, once in the hand and once in the stomach. The police, they leave and they fled the scene in a car. The 2 men did. After being rushed to the hospital for surgeries, Jones would survive his injuries, but Sarah would unfortunately succumb to hers 5 days after the shooting. Now, let's rewind back to the day of the mini mart shooting. Not Sarah's death, but right after it happened. Detective Burke arrives on scene at the mini mart, and officers have already present told him that neither Jimmy nor Jones had gotten a good look at the shooters. They had only told police that they were both young men, and neither one of them recognized them. Burke enters the mini mart, and if he hadn't have already been convinced that these shootings were connected, he gets pretty darn convinced when he looks down at the floor and sees .25 caliber aluminum bullet ammunition, which was the same thing used in the Donita Gillette murder. And like I said, that is a very rare type of ammunition that you would use in a killing spree. It's such an odd choice because it's target ammunition. So Detective Burke is pretty sure these are connected. But he's getting aggravated because he just can't figure out a motive, because all of these hits seem so random.
That's what I was going to say.
Completely
very, very random.
There's not a niche. It's so random feeling. And
first come, first serve.
Basically, that's very much what it feels like. It's clear after talking to all of the victims' families, none of the victims were not well liked.
target worthy.
Very much so. Like, they weren't.
They
exactly.
were not target worthy.
The victims' families didn't know anyone that would want to hurt them. And then on top of that, no one in the victims' families knew one another.
Sporadic. That's the word I was looking for.
I know what you meant. So he's like, this is incredibly weird. It feels like nothing is going to line up here. And while Burke is trying to figure out, like, a motive, like, why he's standing there at the scene, just thinking, he's just so stumped, and so are the other officers that are there. Doyle receives yet another...
I swear to God, 4 for 4.
...beep on his pager.
4 for fucking 4.
And he's told, when he calls in, that there's just been an attempted shooting at a Dayton gas station. Detective Burke goes straight over there, okay? And when he gets there, there's the attempted shooting victim, Kathy Henderson, who is just tore up, rightfully so. And Kathy says that she's been putting, I can't remember if she said gas in her car or air in her tire. But she was, we'll say gas in her car.
Okay.
That Kathy had been putting gas in her 1989 black Dodge Shadow.
Child flashback.
When 2 men approached her, and one of them looked at her and said, "You're going to die today." And she just drops everything and starts running. And they both just start unloading on her, firing at her. But by the grace of God, she does not get hit.
Oh.
Yes. And she gets away.
Trooper, honey.
Yeah. So, Kathy didn't get shot, and she was able to run away to safety, while the 2 gunmen stole Kathy's car and drove away. When checking the crime scene, unsurprisingly, the shell casings they find are the .25 caliber aluminum bullets.
Knew it.
Yes.
Knew it.
There are... Okay, so Detective Burke knows that basically whoever's behind the shooting doesn't have plans to stop this crime scene, like spree, I apologize.
No, I was going to say...
Anytime soon.
Full force.
They are going with it. And so, with there being so many shootings in such a small window of time, the press coverage on these cases is starting to spread like wildfire. Not just in Dayton, all over the country. Like, it's national news. That basically there's a mass shooter, like... No, not mass shooter. It's a killer on the damn loose.
A serial killer.
Basically, most likely that there's a killer on the loose, and obviously it doesn't matter who you are, what you're doing.
A rampage killer.
Yeah, they're exactly. They're just on a rampage.
Yes.
And so everybody is everybody in Dayton and the surrounding areas.
Red alert.
Are freaking out.
I would be too.
Of course. So. On this evening of December 26th, Dayton Police Sergeant John Huber had a message come across his radio. And it was for police to be on the lookout for a 1989 black Dodge Shadow that had been stolen earlier that day from attempted shooting victim Kathy Henderson. And for police to be careful, because more than likely the people that have the car are the same people to be assumed that are the suspects in
armed and dangerous.
Yes, that's what I've got written down is that they're armed and dangerous, but they're assumed to be most likely the shooters or know something about the shooters.
Yes, it sounds that way.
Huber was really good at finding stolen cars around Dayton. Like, it was very well known, around the police department, that he was really good at finding stolen stuff, like stolen goods, cars, whatever you can think of, property.
We all have our gifts.
Exactly. And so, he knew, he knew the hiding spots that most carjackers used, and, the telltale signs to look for around certain streets and stuff like that if they were, trying to hide a stolen vehicle.
Yeah.
So, he starts going looking around at, some of the most well-used, well-known spots that he knew.
Yeah.
To see what he could find. It didn't take long. Okay? Before Sergeant Huber noticed that down, a dark alleyway, just 1 mile away from where Danita had been murdered, there sat a black Dodge Shadow, parked on the side of the road, side street.
Sus, and it's sus.
So Huber calls into dispatch and has them run the plates on the Dodge Shadow, and but unsurprisingly, if you ask me, the plates do not match a black Dodge Shadow. They match a blue Pontiac Grand Am, registered to 34-year-old Joseph Wilkerson. And Huber considered maybe that he had given dispatch the wrong plate number, but he checked it, and no, it was right. And he just kind of looks around, and right up the street a little bit, there is a blue Pontiac Grand Am. He drives down to the Grand Am and tells dispatch the plate number. They run it, and it is the plate belonging to Kathy Henderson's 1989 Dodge Black Shadow.
Little switchy switch.
Yeah. So the suspects in the carjacking, and furthermore, the shooters most likely had switched the plates. Huber asked for dispatch to check and see if Josh Wilkerson had reported his Grand Am stolen. And dispatch comes back and tells him that no, in fact, Josh Wilkerson had not recorded.
You mean Joseph?
Yes, thank you. Joseph Wilkerson had not reported his car stolen.
Yeah.
Guys, I've been wanting to call. This makes the third take because I keep calling Joseph Josh.
She's trying to kill me off. I don't know why.
I love you.
I know.
It's just, I mean, literally, they just look so similar. Joshua and Joseph, the way that they're spelled out. Okay.
She's got me Joe from now on.
Oh, Joe.
He's just
walk away, Joe. We are the singingest bitches I ever seen.
I know, right?
Let's see. Okay, so obviously Sergeant Huber assumes the worst of Joseph and asks dispatch to send somebody over to Wilkerson's property to speak to him. That way the police can rule out whether they can rule out Wilkerson as one of the gunmen or carjackers. Detective Burke and his team are the ones who get dispatched over to Joseph's house. Honey, I about called him Josh again.
We might just have to change his name at this point.
If I accidentally mess up, whoopsie. If you don't catch it and I don't catch it, they'll know at least now.
Honey, we gonna keep going. We gonna keep going. Joshua, Joseph, it's all the same.
Okay.
Michael's messed it up.
Oh, goodness, babe.
He wants attention.
You want attention?
He's like, excuse me.
Here, babe. Detective Burke and his team, they arrive at Joseph Wilkerson's home, and it was about 2 miles away from where Danita had been shot on Christmas Eve.
Poor Danita.
After knocking on Joseph Wilkerson's door, Burke waited for a minute or so. There's no answer. And they try again, no answer. And so they eventually start calling out like, hey, police, you need to open up.
Yeah, do that police pam. Pow, 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 pow.
Yeah, basically. And they still get no answer. So they decide to go around back and, honey, I'm going to need you to stop hitting the mic, okay?
No, this is your doing. You've spoiled him, so this is what you get.
Honey, come here.
This is what you get.
Come here, lay down.
This is her fault.
That's my boy. That's my boy.
Not papa.
So they go around back. And since they can't get a,
5-0 in the house, honey,
yeah.
They are on the scene.
Right. And they try to get him to answer the back door. It's that same method.
Oh, I feel like Joseph can't answer the back door.
And nothing, right?
Oh, poor Joseph.
And so when they're back there, they start smelling this really horrible smell.
It's Joseph.
Would you calm down? Don't get ahead of yourself.
I just know it's Joseph. He's gone. Poor little Joshua indoor Joseph is gone.
So they smell this really bad smell, and it keeps getting worse and worse. And they're just like, they're like, okay, do we have probable cause? This feels like probable cause. And they call out, and it is in fact probable cause. And so they bust down the door. And they go in, and as soon as they bust that door open, honey, the smell gets 50 times worse. And as they're checking room to room, they get to the back of the room, and they have been, like, obviously they've got their guns withdrawn, and they're hollering, police, come out now. Nothing happens. They get to the back, and they get to the back bedroom, and they put their guns down, because, in fact, they find the smell. The smell is
Joshua.
Joseph Wilkerson.
Poor Joshua / Joseph.
He's laying on the bed. He's laying dead on his bed, and naked, and his wrists and ankles have both been tied to the 4 posts of the bed with electrical wire. He has a pillow laying on top of him that is laying across his face and somewhat down his chest. The pillow across Wilkerson's face had 2 very apparent burn marks. So someone had basically placed a pillow over Joseph's head and fired a gun against the pillow to, muffle the gunshots. Burke noted that...
I'm not saying I didn't see it coming, but I seen it coming.
Yeah. So sad. Burke noted that from the look of Wilkerson's body, he had been dead for at least a couple of days. And on the floor...
Premeditated.
On the floor, of his bedroom, there lay the same aluminum shell casings, linking Joseph's murder to that of the other 4 shooting victims. I meant the other shooting victims. I don't know why I said 4. Because he would have made the 4th one. So Burke is super frustrated with all the victims, the 2 mysterious gunmen that he can't find, and still the case of the one young woman who jumped from Richmond Maddox's car
with a limp. Don't forget
with
the
a limp, and that they don't know who any of these people are, and on top of the fact they still have a missing Laura Taylor, and so
it's a clusterfuck.
It very much so. So now, the police set a tip the night of after they discovered Joseph Wilkerson. The police set up a tip line immediately. They're just hoping that somebody might call in with any information that could help lead them.
Found a friend.
That could help lead them to the shooters. So later that night, after the tip line's been set up, their hours have gone by, and call after call has come in with no substantial leads or evidence or anything like that. But finally, hours after this has been started, a call comes through from 18-year-old Nicholas Woodson.
Little Nicky.
The young man was noticeably terrified when he told police he believed he was going to be the next victim of the shooters. When police asked Nicholas why he believed this, he said it was because that he knew who those shooters were. And he goes on to tell police that there were 4 shooters, and he believed that they were going to kill him next to keep him from talking to the police. Obviously, they start freaking out.
Naturally.
The police do. They're like, oh God, So while police are talking to Nicholas on the tip line, Sergeant Huber is still staking out the street where the Dodge Shadow and Pontiac Grand Am are. Okay. Huber noticed movement from an apartment building located across the street where the cars are parked. 3 young people walk from the apartment complex towards the Dodge Shadow. The street light above the cars clearly illuminate and light up the young people's faces. And Huber got a clear visual of 2 young men and 1 small framed young woman. All 3 suspects enter the Dodge Shadow and start the vehicle and start pulling out. Huber radios in that the Shadow is on the move and that he needed immediate backup. Huber then starts his own car and follows the suspects in the Dodge Shadow from a distance. After 2 blocks, the Shadow comes to a stop, and Huber speeds up behind them, turning on his siren and lights. The passenger door of the Shadow flings open, and one young man runs away. The 2 other suspects, 1 young man and 1 young woman, stay put in the vehicle, and Huber steps out of his vehicle, positions himself behind his car door with his pistol drawn, basically saying for them to freeze and that he is the police and for them not to move. The interior light in the Dodge Shadow is now turned on where Dudo flung the door open. And Huber can clearly see that the driver is staying completely still, not moving a muscle. But the woman in the back seat is losing her shit, and she's going completely hysterical, screaming at the driver to shoot him now, over and over again. But the driver makes no move to shoot anybody. In just a few minutes, backup arrives and assists Huber in pulling a young man and woman from the vehicle without a fight. They don't put up a fight. The young man pulled from the vehicle is 19-year-old Marvalis King. And the young girl from this so-called missing 16-year-old is the so-called missing 16-year-old Laura Taylor.
Fucking knew it.
Laura Taylor.
Fucking knew it.
The ex-girlfriend of shooting victim Richmond Maddox. The police search the surrounding buildings looking for the other young man that got away, and they quickly find 17-year-old DeMarcus Smith in the apartment building the trio had originally left out of. And he was found with 20-year-old Heather Matthews. She was actively trying to hide DeMarcus from police, so both DeMarcus and Heather both are arrested. When police get all 4 suspects to the police station for questioning, they quickly noted that Marvalis was wearing Danita's coat, and Marvalis was wearing her shoes, her sneakers.
Them whores.
Really, horrible fucking people. While police are processing the 4 suspects at the station, another team of policemen searching the Dodge Shadow would call the station to report that they had recovered 2 firearms. A .32 caliber Behringer pistol, which is the same gun that was used in the Richmond Maddox shooting. I think I left that out earlier. I apologize. And a .25 caliber pistol that contained the same aluminum bullets used in the majority of the murders.
They got them.
The police had finally found the shooters, but unfortunately they still had no idea all of the damage that these 4 killers had done.
Oh, God.
The police start interrogating all the kids that night, starting with Laura Taylor. They believe that since Laura, who had been described by Richmond Maddox's family, so the shooting victim's family, they described Laura as kind, polite, and sweet. So the police start with Laura, thinking that she'll be the one that can crack the easiest.
I feel like she's the ringleader.
Laura is the only one not to crack during the interrogation. In fact, she doesn't say a word. And at one point, after being interrogated for a couple hours, police ask her if she would like a bathroom break. Laura stands up and pisses all over the interrogation room floor, and then just sits back down, all in complete silence. Yeah. So, like I said, Laura turns out to be the only one out of the 4 that would act tough.
She's the psycho.
And
Laura the psycho.
So Laura is the only one that turns out she doesn't crack, but the other 4 start talking. The other 3 start talking pretty freaking fast. Mm-hmm. So here is the story told from the killer's point of view. On December 24th, Laura, Heather, and Marvalis are all sitting together in the apartment talking about how badly they need money. Mm-hmm. And at some point in the conversation, Laura insists that she knows a man that they could rob. And his name is Joseph Wilkerson. She tells her friends that he probably had a lot of nice things in his house, and that she knew that he had a car, so they could also take it. Heather and Marvalis liked this idea, and decided to let Laura call Joseph and ask him if he wanted to have an orgy with Heather and her. And when he agreed, all 3 of them walked over to Joseph's house, and he let them in, and Laura and Heather followed him into the room, Joseph into his room, while Marvalis stayed in the living room, like, watching TV. Joseph then laid down on the bed, removing his clothes, while Heather and Laura pretended to remove theirs. When suddenly, Marvalis burst into the room with his pistol aimed at Joseph, the .25 caliber. And he bursts in with the pistol aimed at Joseph, just like him and the girls planned. And he tells him, like, not to fucking move, basically. And Joseph is, like, begging for Marvalis not to shoot him. He's like, he tells all 3 of them, like, take whatever you want from the house. I don't care what you take anything. Just don't kill me. Marvalis orders Joseph to move to the bed, and then Heather and Laura go about tying Joseph's wrists and ankles to the 4 posters of the bed frame with electrical wire. And Joseph continues to tell him, like, take whatever you want, just please don't kill me. And Marvalis tells the girls to go out into the house and search for any valuables that Joseph might have. And while Marvalis is, like, standing there holding Joseph hostage, Joseph is, like, trying to appeal to Marvalis's greed, basically, by saying, hey, I've got this really, really nice gun. I know, but I think that he probably just wasn't thinking. I mean, why would you offer the killer a gun? I mean, that you're the person that's holding you up a gun. But I think that he just knew he didn't have anything of worth, and he was panicking. And he tells him, he's like, I've got a really, really nice gun. It's a .32 Behringer pistol. And he thinks Marvalis might like it. And Marvalis is obviously about that life. Mm-hmm. And Joseph tells him that it's in the garage, and he tells Marvalis exactly where to find it. Marvalis goes, gets it. It's exactly where Joseph said it would be. And once Marvalis returns to Joseph's room with the gun, Marvalis literally just walks in, puts a pillow over top of Joseph's face while Joseph is screaming, begging him not to kill him, and shoots Joseph in the head. this does not kill him. Hearing the gunshots, both girls run into the room, and Laura excitedly asks Marvalis, "Oh, can I shoot him too?" Like it's nothing. And Marvalis just...
crazy one. She's a psycho.
Oh, and Marvalis just says, "Sure." Hands her the gun. And she goes to hold the pillow over the still like gurgling Joseph's face and fires the gun, but it doesn't go off. And so she gets frustrated because it's not working. And she's like, "This isn't working for me. Can I use your other gun?" Yeah. And he just gives her the other gun. And she goes right back over and shoves it down into the pillow and shoots Joseph again. And he goes still. The trio then decide to go through all of Joseph's belongings. Marvalis even goes so far as to eat Joseph's food and sits down and watches his TV. All while going through all of his belongings, looking for valuables. And while they're going through all of his belongings, having the time of their lives apparently, all three of them start discussing, quite happily, about how the experience had been so much fun. Fucking monsters.
Exactly. Period.
After going through all of Wilkerson's things, the trio quickly realized Joseph didn't have anything of worth in his house. And he really didn't have the nice things of value. And there obviously wasn't any cash in the house either. Sorry, there was a gnat. Since there wasn't any money in the house, they decided to go and rob somebody else. And this time, they included their friend DeMarcus Smith. Marvalis, Laura, and DeMarcus left Heather at the Wilkerson house to watch over the place. And they headed out towards town, hoping that they would find somebody who was alone and was an easy target to rob. And eventually they found one. It was Danita. Danita had called her mother's house via the payphone, heard DeMarcus and Marvalis approaching her fast from behind, and then she turned around and saw that they both had guns, and she dropped the phone. Both men demanded that she give her Both men demanded that she give them her shoes, which she did immediately. And then just because he felt like it, Marvalis thought it would be fun, he started shooting Danita. He shot her 4 times. And then DeMarcus, who had not been involved in any murder up to this point, just decides to join in and shoots Danita 1 time, which was the 5th time. The 2 men grabbed Danita's coat off her body, along with her backpack, and ran back to Laura on the other side of the road, where they fled the scene and then went back to the Wilkerson residence. Even though the robbery of Danita didn't provide much in monetary gain for the foursome, they all decided that this was the best high that any of them had ever experienced.
Well, psychos is what they are.
You're damn right. So to celebrate their murders, the 4 friends, or should I say 4 murderers, 4 bestie murderers, decide to have a celebration party at Wilkerson's home. So Joseph Wilkerson's body is literally in the back bedroom with just a door closed, back there decomposing. And his murderers are having a celebration party in his house. Yeah. Sick. Sick. I'm so baffled by this story. Like, when I first started looking into this story and researching it, because, you had seen just that little tidbit about it, and I just decided, I'll look it up, because it was around Christmas time. And so I did a little search on YouTube, and then I started actually, I saw some, news footage, and then I actually started looking into it and reading more about it and stuff like that. I never expected all of this.
That's a whole...
it is so much to process.
It's a lot.
I told you, it is honestly, I've read it and went over this so many times now. I've written the script and everything as well. So, I'm a little bit desensitized to it, but even now, I'm not that desensitized. Because, it's actually, it's so heartbreaking. It's so heart-wrenching how many people's lives they destroyed.
For senseless. Senseless
Yes.
is what it is.
And I mean, when I was going through this, I cannot even explain to you how, like, just sad and disgusted it made me feel. You just don't even understand the breaks I had to take. Like, I was like, I gotta step away. I'm gonna step away for about an hour or so. Because, I mean, it's a lot.
It's a lot to process.
Sorry, I just want to throw that in there. Yeah, I just want to throw that in there. Like, so if you need to step away for your mental health, do so. Come back later, or maybe just find us on the next one.
I've invested.
Like, whew. It's just one of the worst cases I've ever done a deep dive in. And so I'm just saying, if you ever did need to step away, it's okay.
Well, you understand.
So, but back to the story. So these four murders, So these four murderers are just having this party with Jason's body decaying in the back bedroom. One of the guests invited to the party was Jeffrey Wright, who is Heather's ex-boyfriend, okay? At some point during the night, Jeffrey and Heather get into an argument. And this leads to Jeffrey, like, grabbing Heather by the hair and, like pulling her, like, behind him, I guess, like, trying to pull her towards the back bedrooms. And, Marvalis sees this, follows them, goes after Jeffrey, and, Jeffrey panics when he sees Marvalis coming after him. He jumps out of a window, and, this does not stop Marvalis. Marvalis, jumps through the window and goes running after Jeffrey and shoots him 4 times in the legs as he tries to run away.
Oh, God.
Crazy enough, Jeffrey would make it to the hospital and survive his injuries, but would not tell police what had happened.
Huh.
Yeah. So Laura, not even Heather, Laura, gets excited by seeing Heather's ex get shot and what they assume, I guess, is killed, and decides that she wants to shoot one of her exes too. The next day on Christmas, Laura calls up her ex-boyfriend, Richmond Maddox, and asks him if he wanted to meet her at a hotel and have sex with her. When Richmond says yes, Laura tells him that he will have to pay for the room, so to bring cash. Richmond agrees to Laura's idea and picks her up later that day, and as they're on their way to the hotel, he quickly realizes that they're being followed, and in his mirror, he sees that it's Marvalis and DeMarcus, and he realizes this is a setup. So Richmond hits the gas and tries to lose them, and that's when Laura shoots Richmond in the side of the head at point blank, and proceeds to throw herself out the passenger door of the moving car right before it crashed into the tree on the side of the road. Marvalis and DeMarcus pick her up, and the trio would then head back to the Wilkerson home. The foursome agreed that this was like super fun and all, but they still didn't really have the cash, and they needed money. They literally had none. I think that what they got off of, I didn't write this down and I meant to. They got like either like $35-ish or $40 off of Richmond. So the next morning, on December 26th, Laura, DeMarcus, Heather, and Marvalis would all get into the car and head to the mini mart. That Heather said that they head to the mini mart, and this was actually Heather's idea. It was Heather's idea to rob this mini mart. So they could finally, I guess had really been pressing on them that they needed to do like a bigger job, like an actual store, so that they could finally get the cash that they so desperately needed. And I misspoke. It didn't say how much they got off of Richmond. It was by robbing this mini mart. They got $40.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
Apologies. After pulling up to the store, Laura gets out of the vehicle, goes in to scope the place out, while the others waited in the car. Okay? Laura goes in, counts the people in the store, even though she missed one. She missed Jones. And she grabs a pack of gum and goes to pay, and even though she was a nickel short, Jenny gave her a nickel.
Go, Jim.
With a smile. And this little bitch smiles back like she was just so fucking appreciative, and goes right out that store, gets in the car, and tells her conspirators that there's two people in the store for them to fucking kill. Sorry, I'm not meaning to cuss so much. It just gets me riled up. Marvalis and DeMarcus then go into the store, hold Sarah and Jimmy at gunpoint, not knowing Jones is in the store since Laura had miscounted, and they rob the store, which only gave them $40. Marvalis didn't care that Sarah had given him everything that she had. He shot her in the face 2 times, and then DeMarcus would attempt to shoot Jimmy, but he misses, and that's when they noticed Jones at the end of one of the aisles, and that's when they shot him the 2 times. On the way back to the Wilkerson residence, DeMarcus and Marvalis spot Kathy Henderson putting gas in her vehicle. That's when they decide, out of nowhere, they want to kill her too. So DeMarcus and Marvalis walk right up to Kathy, and that's when Marvalis tells her, "You're going to die today." And they both try to shoot her, but by the grace of God, miss. Regardless that these 4 had committed multiple shootings now, with not much effort put into covering up their crimes, Heather, Laura, DeMarcus, and Marvalis are only concerned with 2 people. 18-year-old Marvin Washington and 16-year-old Wendy Cottrell. They're scared that they might go to the police. Because Marvin and Wendy, they were at that party that they had at Josh Wilkerson's house. And in that same party, the 4 killers had been talking to each other about all the murdering they had done, not even trying to keep it a secret. And they knew that Marvin and Wendy had overheard. Had overheard them as well. But Marvin and Wendy weren't the only ones that overheard. 18-year-old Nicholas Woodson heard as well. And remember, he's the one that called in. Yeah. But out of all 3 of these people that heard the foursome admitting to their murders, Marvalis believed that Marvin and Wendy would be the ones that would snitch.
The snitches, yeah.
Telling them, Marvalis goes on to tell them that they will need to go with the group to participate in the next murder, because they needed to prove their loyalty to the foursome, and that they wouldn't go to the cops.
This is like some 90s movie.
I know. Obviously, they have no choice. Marvin and Wendy both agree. And so on the night of December 26th, Marvalis and DeMarcus drive out with Marvin and Wendy to the edge of Dayton, where they pull up to like a gravel pit. And once they get there, it doesn't take long for Wendy and Marvin to realize that they've just been driven to their own murder. Marvin gets Marvalis has Marvin get out of the car, and Marvin gets out of the car with no fight, and Marvalis demands for him to get on his knees, execution style, and yeah, he kills him right there.
Oh God!
With a bullet to the back of the head. Wendy, who's literally just seen Marvin get murdered right in front of her, starts screaming, crying, begging for her life. And she actually is like holding on to the inside of the car so that she can't be pulled from it. And DeMarcus starts trying to pull her out of the car and he can't get her. And so Marvalis comes over and helps. And they pull her from the car. And let's see, I think it was DeMarcus, yes. DeMarcus tells Wendy to open her mouth. And she finally does. And he places the barrel of the gun inside her mouth. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And he tells her to bite the barrel. And she does. And he shoots her. DeMarcus and Marvalis would leave both bodies just lying on the ground and get back into their car and leave. Nicholas Woodson, more than likely, knew that DeMarcus and Wendy had been killed because he saw them leave the party with DeMarcus and Marvalis. And this terrified Nicholas because he figured he was next, because he knew that the foursome knew that he had overheard about the murders as well. So this is when Nicholas calls the tip line and tells police that he knows who the killers are. This all happened at the exact same time Sergeant Huber saw DeMarcus, Marvalis, and Laura get into the stolen Dodge Shadow. A year after their killing spree, Marvalis King, DeMarcus Smith, Laura Taylor, and Heather Matthews will go to trial.
It's about time.
All of them received life sentences, except Marvalis King. Marvalis King is considered to be the ringleader by the court. Mm-hmm. Even though, if you ask me, that's wrong. Laura Taylor.
Yeah. She's the psycho.
I believe Laura Taylor is the ringleader.
The instigator.
Marvalis King would be considered the ringleader, and he would go on to receive the death penalty. Marvalis died by lethal injection on July 21st, 2009.
Well, say la vie.
Amen.
He's very active today.
I'd say. Come here.
That's a lot. That's a whole lot.
I told you it was a lot.
That's a whole story. I feel like I've just watched like some Lifetime movie, or one of those, ID, true crime,
Yeah, I told you this one was a lot.
But I'm glad that they caught him and that they got what was coming to them.
Yeah,
most definitely.
I think he got off easy.
Honey,
Marvalis. I think that he should have to rot in jail forever.
Honey, you done deep dived.
I told you.
She deep dived. Look, honey, I so invested. I'm like, oh, I want to know.
I told you, my way of going about things is like telling a story.
I'm like, oh, Carl, honey, look, honey, I'm gonna have to have me a little drink.
You teared up numerous times.
I did. I was like, oh God, this is horrible.
And see, don't feel bad. Like literally, as I was researching it, I was like, I cried. Like I wasn't bawling, but I was like crying.
Yeah, that's a lot to process. Honey.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So thank you all for listening to this horrendous story.
Sorry.
No, I mean it's definitely, honey.
It's interesting.
It had everything
so
that we
sad,
was looking
though.
for, honey. Christmas, murders, psychopaths.
Yeah.
It hit every nail on the head.
Literally.
Every nail on the head.
So sad. Yeah, I feel this is the first one I've made you cry.
I was like, oh God, it's so sad.
It's heartbreaking.
So sad.
A bunch of fucking little psychos.
Little thuggabees, honey.
Oh my God, like crazy ass bitches. You see why it gave me nightmares?
Most definitely.
God bless.
Most definitely.
Guys, thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Child, I'm done scorned. Honey, I'm scorned.
You mean scarred?
Oh, yeah, scarred. Scorned. Scorned too, honey. I'm scorned and scarred. Let me alone. I can be both.
That's right, honey. You can be both.
I can be both. Anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in to listen to this little holiday horror story.
Literally.
We have a few more to bring to
you.
Looking forward to that.
We're going to be as a little Christmas gift to you guys, we're going to be releasing
a little treat.
More videos than we normally do. We usually just do one a week, but I'm going to do 2 every week until Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Now, guys, if you don't care, please like, share, and subscribe.
Yes.
Make sure you follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify and follow us on TikTok. And if you would, please subscribe on YouTube. And honeys.
The bell.
The bell.
The bell.
Next to that subscribe button, you're going to hit subscribe. Then you're going to hit that little bell. Then you're going to hit all. And honey, you won't miss a thing.
I can hear the bells. Yes, won't miss a thing, baby.
Won't miss a thing, honey.
Until next time, you all, stay gilding.
# the Gilders. Bye.
Bye.